Welcome back to Derry Public Radio. Reporting from the basement of the Derry Civic Center, this is CM Alexander with the news. Today, we celebrate the retirement of longtime employee Bob Miller, an account manager who gave us 39 great years of service, who during this morning's staff meeting suddenly vanished from existence. No warning, no explanation, just gone. We're not entirely sure what you call that, but retired feels close enough. Thanks, Bob. You're listening to Derry Public Radio. This is Derry Public Radio. Welcome back to Derry Public Radio, a bi-weekly Stephen King Book Club podcast. I'm one of your hosts, CM Alexander, making brutal eye contact again with Josh Kahn.
Hey, everybody. Why are we so weird when it's just the two of us?
I don't know.
We always start off with such strange energy.
Eve, we need you.
No joke. She balances out.
Anyway, we are continuing our coverage, our Patreon selection by Ian Klink of If It Bleeds. And we are covering the story, The Life of Chuck, and Josh is leading the discussion.
I sure am. And the first thing I want to talk about is the structure of this novella.
Yes.
Because it is a 3-act structure told in reverse. CM, for your first time reading it, how did that strike you?
I wish I had read this and not listened to it the first time through.
Okay.
Because I think listening to it was a barrier, because I have to listen to things when I only have time to listen multiple times while I'm like driving or doing other things, because you get distracted and you don't realize it and you miss things. And I want, since we're talking about it, I can't really miss things.
Yeah.
And I did not quite catch on to that. And so I experienced, which I think actually works fine for the story in a weird way, I experienced a lot of disorientation.
I see.
Between Act 3 and 2, and just kind of like,
completely understandable.
Oh, I get what it was. Basically the hospital room scene where I was like, oh, I'm dumb. And then on my second listen, I was like, oh, right. I just needed to hear those words.
There's a very important 2 sentences
yes.
that give all that context.
But really cool, because I'm trying to think of another story, not even necessarily that we've covered on the show, but just that I have read that does this. And I'm sure other stories have, but I don't know if I've encountered one that does.
We see it a lot in the kind of movies we watch, starting at the end.
Yeah.
But this wholly being told in reverse.
Well, in the way it does it, it's not just about it being told in reverse. It's about the genres woven into each act that are shifting, that I think makes it more like something I haven't encountered book-wise.
It's what's so amazing is the amount of, is it delicious foreshadowing if it happens in the past? Oh shit.
I think we can say yes to this because of the storytelling device of it being in reverse. So yeah, I think it's a gray area, but I give it a pass.
There are some great moments we'll get to. One of the things that I appreciate on a second read is the amount of things that stuck out to me that I didn't remember at first why they were important, because it's been years since I read If It Bleeds when it came out, and this is the first time I've touched it since. So yeah, having that that kind of memory of the structure, so I was comfortable with it and things jumping out and being like, this feels important, and then it hit me again and I was so hyped.
This is one, I'm going to talk about this much later on, but this is a story you should read more than once.
Yeah, absolutely.
A question for you, and maybe we talk more about this throughout or in your rating even, but I'm just curious, initial impressions, your second read, was that a different experience than your first, other than just noticing things because you know it was going to happen?
I'm going to speak with no hyperbole.
Okay.
Because of incidents that I'll talk about when it comes to my ratings, this is my favorite novella ever.
Oh.
Yes.
Favorite. Okay. Okay.
This
Wasn't
has
at the time
me.
of first reading.
It
though.
was not.
Oh, we've got our classic. It hits you how it hits you depending on what's going on.
Yes,
That's why you
absolutely.
gotta reread.
100%.
I don't know why this podcast has become like a platform of rereading. A problem nobody has identified as being a problem, but I'm very passionate about solving it.
Yeah, not enough people reread what we cover is your point,
Well, that
right?
sounds arrogant.
Oh, that's how I mean it. Sorry,
Oh,
that's my mistake.
That's a Josh interpretation. No, I just want people to get to have these life-altering experiences through literature.
So let's get into Act 3. Thanks, Chuck. We open at the end of the world with Marty Anderson as he's stuck in traffic and at the intersection of the Midwest Bank and Trust just before the internet fell. And something about the passive response to just before the internet fell
Mhm.
instantly told me this was the apocalypse. How about you?
Okay, I feel dumb again because remember, my equilibrium is all off with this one. I was really, because of the casual response to it being the end of the world,
hmm
and this is like the first thing you read, and it's a whole 3-act story.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, I thought that was maybe more than a metaphor, maybe not quite that, but I didn't know it was like actually literally the end of the world.
I love of all the apocalypses we've covered, I love the way that they dole this one out to us because it's little tidbits across this entire act.
Mm-hmm.
And I've put together a list of them all that I'm going to cover.
Nice.
But before I cover them, I want to ask you if you have any favorites of the world-ending calamities that are happening around the world.
Actually, can I just say what my favorite part of this
Yeah.
is? It's the end of Marty and Felicia's story.
Ooh.
Because, well, okay, I won't give it away yet, but I'll just say what it reminded me of, and I think you'll get it. I felt very like, man, this is like Langelier's sort of
Yeah.
uncanny liminalness, that vibe that it gave me. So the way that this end of the world story unfolds so quickly, and it's just a brief moment in a guy's life that is a tiny little mirror of the larger story of a guy's life. Yeah.
I think it's such an amazing act choice because it goes from being so important to not at all. And we'll get to it.
Okay, I'm curious about that.
So the passive ways that people bring up some of the apocalypses are happening around the world. There are species of birds and fish going extinct.
Oh, I hate that.
California is peeling off into the ocean like wallpaper, which has caused citizens to flee to Nevada, overcrowding Nevada, making gas go up to $20 a gallon. Midwest is a firestorm. Winds have charred most of it. A bridge has collapsed and there's no sign of anybody working to repair it. Southern Florida is completely swamp. Bees are nearly extinct.
Is that different?
Asia has reached famine and plague states. The White House fence was knocked over by protesters.
Yeah.
There was a 4-day war between India and Pakistan. The Russian government was overthrown. And there's a volcano in Germany.
And the internet is down.
And the internet and Pornhub is gone.
Oh, that is all Marty feels like the parents of his students, because he's a high school teacher.
Yeah. Tell us about Marty, Sam.
Yes, as I said, he's a high school teacher, and he thinks like, man, these parents keep asking me, parent-teacher conference night, not how's little Timmy, little Susan doing, but what's up with the internet? Like I'm some sort of IT guy for the internet, and he thinks what they're really worried about is not their child's access to knowledge, not their access to their banking information, but their access to Pornhub. And it's not just the men, it is the women too. King's being very inclusive.
It's so great. And we touched on it a little bit, but he essentially points out that the internet service and cell service have slowly been degrading over time.
Yeah.
And so it's been going out and coming back up, but that
It's getting
time
worse.
is getting slower. Now he's stuck in traffic because of these parent-teacher conferences. Normally he'd have been home by now, but it's 5 o'clock traffic jam. And he looks up and he sees a billboard on top of the Midwest Trust. Sam, what does that billboard have on it?
That billboard has Charles Krantz, 39 great years. Thanks, Chuck. It is a message with a picture of a guy who looks like an accountant.
It's a moon-faced man with black glasses and a scar on his hand, but really that's saying he looks like an accountant is everything you really need to know.
Yes, it perfectly describes him, as we will come to find out.
I kept picturing the younger version of the guy from Up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet, actually, and sad.
Yes.
I thought it was interesting because Marty's like, man, well, first of all, he's like, why didn't they Photoshop that weird scar
Mhm.
out on his hand? And it's like, don't, like, why can't you just leave it? People have scars. Anyway. And then he's like, they must have used a really old photo of him. That's strange. It looks like he's 39 in that photo. You know, I don't see a bunch of gray hair and stuff. And if he's retiring, he must be an old dude.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Which, great, slips by. My first time through, didn't give it a second thought.
Yeah, because I wouldn't be surprised by. I feel like I've seen that, not to
Yeah.
that extreme, but where it's like people do not update their business card photos for a very long time, and you're like, whoa,
Yeah, 100%.
you're not a relative of this person.
Marty, has no idea who this Charles Krantz guy is, but good for him. Congratulations. When he finally gets home, he first pats himself on the back for keeping his landline. And he, much like Dinky Earnshaw, walks into the house and knows immediately who's on the phone when he calls because ex-wives have radar. What did you think of the introduction to this relationship between Marty and Felicia?
I really like everything about what we're given of their relationship because we're given so very little of them. We spend hardly any time with them at all. The way he talks about their relationship and he's describing, that they got divorced and they've stayed good friends. And in fact, they get along better, they fight less obviously than when they were married to each other. And they're close enough friends that they also sleep together
Yeah.
occasionally. And it's great.
And it's the end of the world, so.
Yeah, and so I found myself kind of wondering like how much of them getting along better after getting divorced because they didn't get along very well is things, coming into perspective because it is the end of the world, and how much of it was maybe these two individuals just did not fit together in, that traditional relationship.
Mhm.
Who knows, would they have continued to have this partnership with one another for the rest of their lives if the world wasn't ending?
Something that is what you were saying clicked in my head because we read so much Stephen King. We're so used to Stephen King relationships. I was thinking about how this relationship feels so lived in for me, and I couldn't place it. And as you were talking, it hit me. It's like a not quite twinner relationship with the main character from Duma-Key and his wife. Because
Oh, yeah.
their splitting is because of a trauma and things that they couldn't get past.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we don't really know why they split up. We just know that they're happy or split up. So we don't know what the trouble in their relationship was.
Mhm.
I could feel all that history the same way
Yeah.
he would talk about his wife in that book.
Yeah, it's really cool. I really like it. And it makes you feel connected to the characters too, in a way that sucks.
Felicia shares some news because she is a nurse at City General, and she calls to tell them they had 6 more today. 6 more what, CM?
6 more suicides.
Yeah, the nursing staff has taken to calling themselves the Suicide Squad because there have been an influx of suicides throughout the city. I think it's later we find out that there were 18 people who survived attempts today and 6 that didn't make it on top of that 18. And the drugs that they use to counteract some of these things are running low, and soon they're not going to have any more. And so they're hoping that the suicide epidemic slows down or stops entirely so they can get some of that back caught up.
It's just so interesting to see a dying world so close to the end of its life and people fighting so hard to, to help other people, to save lives, to live, even though they don't have much left to live. They're just holding on to life as they know it. Yeah. Again, a minor reflection of this like bigger story.
Yeah, it is really crazy though. We get in our apocalypses, zombie apocalypse, things stop kind of day one. Mm-hmm. This has been a slow but very severe decay over a short time. So it's so alarming and it's so unexpected that it's just breaking people, it sounds like. On the phone call, he makes a joke in regards to like, things may be bad, but at least Charles Krantz is retiring.
And Felicia's like, she's like, oh yeah, you saw it too? Like, what? Who is this guy? She's like, 39
great years. Yeah.
What's happening?
It turns out, and it wasn't, he's like, oh, the billboard. And she's like, no, it was an ad on NPR. Like, wait, so this guy we know has a billboard and a radio ad. My first time reading, my gut reaction was, that's the end of the world. It's the last person who's ever retiring. So the company spent a shitload of money and did it.
I thought that too, except I thought the guy did it himself. Like because I was like, yeah, I could see you being like, man, I'm going to make a real big deal out of my retirement. I'm going to make it seem like I'm the most important guy retiring in the world because what am I going to do with this money?
That's, yes, 1,000%.
So we were very
yeah.
That's funny.
After this call, he decides to load up Netflix. Great shout out to Idris Elba with the Stringer Bell pull. The episode circles, tries to load, and finally the internet dies forever. R.I.P. Pornhub. The next day, he's headed to work when he sees a neighbor who is a supervisor at Public Works. So, important job, should be going to work. But no, he's walking home and he notes that he should also be driving instead of walking. And that's pretty odd. So Marty calls him over, and what do we find out his morning has been?
Yeah, we're going to get a lot of people walking either because of like traffic jams or people abandoning their vehicles.
Yeah.
Or sinkholes.
Yes.
What's really creepy about the sinkhole, though, is that it was where Marty had stopped to admire Chuck's retirement announcement, and it just consumed like this whole block of vehicles.
Yeah. So if this had happened, it could less than 24 hours ago, could have been him. Ugh. Traffic is so backed up that Gus basically took his lunch, got out of his car, and is walking home because everybody else has pretty much done the same. And this is the sign that people are going to stop going to work.
Yeah.
Now, it's kind of over.
Yeah, because he plays hooky too.
Yes.
And he thinks like, oh, I have plenty of sick days, and well, why bother?
Yeah.
Well, I think he tries to get to work though.
He thinks about it. But then he invites Gus to sit in his car to catch his breath, because Gus also doesn't want to upset his wife by coming home so soon and walking in, you know? So they chat about, this is where we find out that with California falling into the ocean.
Oh, that happened like that morning.
Yeah. And most of the food producing regions are pretty much gone now. So famine is going to start hitting the country because the Midwest is on fire.
But it seems like things are happening so fast that how long do you suffer one before it's all just crumbling?
Before you have to stop caring about what crisis is happening.
Am I hungry or am I on fire? Or did I fall into the earth?
Yes. But Marty loses interest in this conversation because he sees a lady named Andrea, who is a friend of Felicia's who works at Midwest Trust. And he's got to get some answers.
He's got to know about Chuck. That's where the billboard is. So he's like, hey, what's up with Chuck? And it's so good because she doesn't say who, or I don't know who that is. She's like, must be somebody in the corporate office because I don't know him. So it makes you, it like supports that illusion that this is just some guy making a big deal out of his retirement.
There's graffiti. We also find out all around downtown. People have started spray painting "We love Chuck. Chuck lives and Chuck forever."
It is. And this is where like my brain was like, are people just like latching on to, maybe they all had the same reaction that we initially did, which was like, it's the end of the world. I guess why not like go out with a bang, like
Something
make your
to care
retirement a
about.
big deal. And this is how things are going viral at the end of the world. Like people are spray
Oh
painting
yeah.
and stuff. And even later when the really creepy stuff happens, I was still holding on to that idea of like, how did like the government project? I don't know. It was just
A lot of this book, I can't explain it any better than I forget anything not super I forget anything like supernatural is happening because so much isn't
Mm,
supernatural. There's a very like small portion of this later, but for all the fantastical things that are
yeah.
happening, this is like a real story.
Yeah. Well, and even the part later, I mean,
Still, yeah.
yeah.
We'll get there. Marty sees another guy that he is talking on a bench, Sam Yarbrough, and that guy also has no idea who Chuck is. And that guy's asked like 24 people who the fuck Chuck is.
And I know that's what we should be concerned about, but I'm really pissed at this guy because he's like, hey, did you know that the days are getting longer?
Which is, he's like, fun fact.
Yeah. It's like, I have it on good authority, my own, because I timed it and I'm really good at time. And it doesn't like give anything to support how he'd be so good at time. And
He's an aspiring meteorologist, CM.
And the reason that I'm frustrated with this is because people less concerned with or critically thinking of this also have the idea that climate change, because he goes on, he's like, humans couldn't have possibly put the earth off its axis, which is why the days are slightly longer. And I'm not saying climate change isn't real, like it basically says, but like this is something that was going to happen to us no matter what, and
Yeah.
it's not our fault. That's the thing people latch onto with climate change. Like, oh, I don't need to care because how could human beings possibly make an impact on, like what are we in the grand scheme of things? Like fucking parasites, but not the point. I just don't want people to have like this idea that our actions don't have consequences.
For sure.
So it irritated me a lot, and I got really stuck on that. I was like, fuck Chuck, stop accidentally sending that message.
I like
It was an interesting fact, though, the idea of the earth. Yeah.
I like that it is, in a way, hand waving the as a reader that the is the twist going to be it's climate change, that kind of thing. It really takes that off the table. Stephen King being like, you know what? Nope, this easy answer you might think is it. It's not it.
Yeah.
And the way that Marty responds, essentially saying, Chuck is retiring and so is the planet. It's fucking amazing the second time through. Marty ends up from here walking to Felicia's, and on the way he sees something beautifully normal. A 10-year-old girl roller skating through the streets.
And then he talks to her. Don't. Is that girl yours? Leave her alone. He's like, hey, my ex-wife, Felicia, you might know her. She lives around here. Because I was like, what are you doing? Do you need directions? Like, don't you know where she lives? Why are you talking to her?
It does make sense because they're the only two people on the street, and he's an adult man walking towards her as she's skating. So I get the let's both stop and
yeah, and he's very conscientious of I'm not walking towards. As soon as I start talking to her, I stop moving my body, and so he tells her who he is, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I think I've seen you. You drive this car, I forget what it is, but she identifies it." And he's like, yeah. And I was like, ooh, in our world, that's super stranger danger. Like,
Right.
oh, don't you know me? I drive nondescript vehicle that anybody sees all the time.
We've seen too much.
I know.
During their talk, though, the power grid
Mm-hmm.
fails, and he tells her to go home because the street lights are off, and the only thing lighting the world is the stars. And he starts running to Felicia's because there's just like this sense of urgency. And when he gets there, doors thrown open and they embrace. And then it gets weird. Then Charles Krantz, 39 great years. Thanks, Chuck. Signs start appearing in the windows, just rolling up them, basically.
Yeah, that threw me off so hard. I was so baffled by this. This is where I started thinking, like, is this a Truman Show situation? Is this like, because I was thinking of it more technically, why I don't know, but like, how are they projecting his image on everybody's windows?
Yeah, like what weird shit is happening?
Yeah, we have to wait.
Yes.
To find out though. This also it's like you give me random dude's face on all household windows and then we are in a hospital room.
Yeah. We jump to Doug, a philosophy professor who is in a hospital room waiting for his brother-in-law, Chuck, to die. As he's sitting there, Brian, who is Chuck's high school age son, comes into the room because they turned off life support an hour ago. Chuck has a glioblastoma, which is a highly aggressive and malignant brain tumor. And there's some talk about how loved he was at the bank because they sent over a ton of flowers, but the flowers aren't allowed in his room, which is, Brian is very upset about this.
Yeah.
We find out that he truly loved his job and
he was an accountant.
Yes, he was an accountant after all. And he loved dancing. This is part of what broke me.
Okay.
I'm 39.
I hate reading about someone dying at the age you are.
Yes.
It's rough.
And those 39 years have been great. Don't get me wrong, but
they've been very short.
Yeah, I was immediately hit with the weight of missing all of my daughter's life in the way that he's going to be missing Brian's life. And so from the jump, it had its claws in me, this read, something fierce.
Oh, man, reading things as a dad.
It definitely changes things for
Yeah.
me. But Doug decides to comfort Brian.
Well, because Brian's like, this sucks and is unfair. My dad is 39 years old. He's way too young to die. Like, why? Why does this have to happen? What's the point of it all?
And Doug's way of bringing comfort is to basically say each human mind contains universes upon universes. So it is a whole world is what's lost when someone dies, not just a person.
Yeah, we contain multitudes.
Yes.
Which is where it's like, oh, got it. Because up until this point, I was like, okay, so when are Chuck and Marty's lives, like when are we going to see their paths cross so we know how these two characters are connected to each other? I did not expect that they were connected because they are a world inside of Chuck. I have been referencing this concept because I'm teaching a diversity and policy course at the social work school right now. And so we're talking about a lot of things having to do with like identity too, and just how oppressed individuals, there are like racial structural racism like built into our society, things like that. Yeah. So this has come up and I was like, I was telling my class, I'm reading, this book right now and this is this part in it. And I just keep thinking about what we're talking about. And, each of us contains multitudes. Our identities intersect with other identities we have. We're not, nobody is just one thing. And so for King to take that concept, that framework and create this 3-act story around it is so, so fun.
The genius of it is a way to make you feel sad about a character's death that we don't know yet, because we are starting at the end of his story. And the fact that I'm able to already hurt for Chuck is great writing, because I'm mourning Marty and this world.
I was gonna say I'm not even hurting for Chuck yet.
Yeah.
I'm mourning everything that will be lost with him.
Yeah.
Which also gives you this grander sense of like belonging in the universe. The idea that, what if we do contain multitudes? In this, this is so Dark Tower.
Yeah.
Too. I
true.
kept thinking of this over and over again, with the rose and the tower itself and everything. And I'm like, ooh, what really like subtle way to kind of bring that lore into it
Yeah,
without taking the reader out.
for sure.
You get that if you've journeyed to the Dark Tower. You are familiar with that, but if you haven't, it's not like a weird moment.
For sure. I want to throw to you for the cut back into Marty and Felicia's world while they're stargazing.
This is the part that made me get all Langoliers-y. So
Yep.
we left them at her doorway, hugging each other, comforting one another, and they're looking up at the sky because there's no power. The only light is Chuck,
Oh,
which
wow.
makes sense. And all of a sudden, they see the stars just one by one start to blink out of existence. It doesn't say go dark. It's like they cease to exist.
Yeah.
That is the point of this. And then all of a sudden, it starts happening by the hundreds. And Marty realizes, like, oh, what is important to me, at the end of all of this? It's Felicia. So he turns to tell her, I love you. And before he can finish that sentence, they're gone. That's it. I'm going to, because you could interpret this as Marty took for granted his love. And before he had the chance to let her know how he felt, the world ended because he didn't get to finish his sentence. And so it's a reminder not to take things for granted, not to take people for granted. I'm going to choose because that's so sad. All of this is so sad. So it's probably actually how it's supposed to be interpreted. But I want to think of it as when he turned to tell her that, like, there was no question what he was saying.
Yeah.
She knew.
That's very romantic. Yeah.
How I sleep at night.
While this beautiful moment is happening, while the stars are going out by the hundreds, in the real world, Chuck's breathing is slowing. His wife, Jenny, has made it to the room, and the family holds hands around him while Chuck takes his final breath, and Chuck dies. That's a hell of a way to end the opening act.
Yes.
So now we go to Act 2, Buskers. Now, one of the great things about this story is I've said many times I love stories that are the entirety of someone's life.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas like Revival, for instance, we got so much, it's obviously a whole book's worth of Jamie's life. I really love this type of slice of life where it's just a single day of this portion of their life and then a single day like that. I thought it was a really great choice.
And how those all connect to each other is fun too.
So this is a terrific day. Oh God, and finding out, and what's even worse is the way the end punches you with why we're learning about this day. That's goddamn, I love the story. So it is a lovely Thursday afternoon full of possibilities for Jared, who is again not Chuck. For the second time in a row, we're opening with somebody who isn't Chuck. And
he's not inside of Chuck.
Not yet.
Oh.
Oh, he is a street drummer. He's a busker. He's setting up his drums and his quote unquote magic hat.
Well, he's in a band as well, but he's
Yes.
busking.
Yeah,
Is it called busking?
I guess. I assume so. But yeah, he's got
Streets
his hat.
of Boston, busking.
Yeah, busking in Boston. And he is we find out he's a Juilliard dropout also, so we know he is, despite doing this, a trained quality musician.
And he dropped out because he didn't like being told that
The rules,
while
man.
he was making music, he was doing something. And I don't mean that as an insult. That's just
very funny, though.
As he's setting up his drums, he's thinking about what a nice day it is and how, if he's lucky, he might make like, what is it, $30, $30, something, not a lot of money at all.
Because the van driver also gets a cut of his money for helping him unload his drums. Then we jump to another character who isn't Chuck.
No, this is Janice, and Janice is having a day.
Oh, yeah, she is.
She looks cute AF. Yeah, I thought it was a gross way I said that. I'm sorry. And she just got dumped, and she's like, damn it, I look good. And the only way this bastard is going to find out is if I send him a picture like, here's what you're missing. You know what? I didn't really like him that much. He was fine.
It's 16 months via text. That's brutal.
I couldn't judge that because Devin and I are going to celebrate 20 years together here in a couple of weeks. as of when we're recording this. And I was like, yep, I guess that's how people break up with each other nowadays. It's accepted, I guess.
Never acceptable.
I don't know what the kids do.
Get-
But I'm sorry. Can we talk about his
Yeah.
text?
Yeah.
Because it was like, hey, you're cool, but, not feeling it, LOL, but still be friends? Smiley, smiley, winky face, poop emoji. I don't remember, something like that.
16 months, over a year dedicated to this relationship to get it's just not vibing.
Josh, it's how the kids dump each other these days.
Oh, no.
You
I'm
no
so
longer
sorry, kids.
have to manufacture a public setting and beg a friend to dump him for you
What?
because you're
What?
so awkward
What?
that you can't do it by yourself.
What?
Now you have
Explain
to
yourself.
ask yourself, was I the dumper or was I the friend?
You were the coward.
Why would you just assume
Am
the
I
truth?
right? Because we've been friends a long time, and I know
That I'm a
if
coward.
you needed to dump somebody, you'd call me to come do it.
No, I've learned how to ghost people in a socially acceptable way now.
Yeah, thank God for ghosting. Let's get to Chuck.
Yeah. A much better person than
Yes.
us.
Chuck is dressed accountingly, leaving an
Yes.
accounting conference.
With an accountantly briefcase.
It's so great.
And he's bespectacled, I
Yes.
assume.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay,
he's got his
yeah.
black rimmed glasses.
Is he wearing a bow tie or tie?
Bow tie.
Cool.
He's having a great time at this conference. The bank sent him to Boston. He's never been to Boston. So he's living it up, learning a lot, and having a great time because we know he loves his job.
Mhm.
This day is going to be a pretty great day, despite the fact he doesn't know he has 9 months to live.
Ooh, that is delicious foreshadowing.
Yes, it is. We also find out that this is another piece of, I think, wonderful, delicious foreshadowing, learning about the retros. CM, who are the retros?
Chuck used to be the lead singer in a band, the Retros. He was the lead singer for 2 reasons. He could sing.
Helpful.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that isn't the reason. And his grandpa, I think it was.
His grandma.
His grandma would let him borrow the van so the band could have a van. A band van.
The band van.
Yeah, and that very important, by the way, especially to young people.
Well, and his favorite part of being the lead singer was the instrumentals, because he got to dance like Jagger.
And then I hate the song. I'm sorry if you like it, but I had that song stuck in my head.
Which one?
I'm not going to sing it. Anyway, the memory that he's focusing on about this experience being in a band as he is making his way through the streets and he starts to hear the drums and he starts to feel a little bit inspired and loose in the hips is that his friend had a little sister who would watch them practice. And she just had such a charming personality that he loved chatting with her and they would tease each other and stuff. Nothing like weird, but he tells a story about how one day after practice, she was like, by the way, you sing like old people fuck. And
slow and sloppy.
And his comeback was like, well, you're a big dummy face.
Oh, sick burn.
But they would dance their asses off together and everybody would kind of like poke fun at them because they're just being goofy and having fun and not caring. But it was really good time in his life and really fond memories of those moments.
And Chuck was a good dancer.
Yeah, he did have moves like
like somebody. I cannot place the name though. But he is thinking about this when that drum beat comes to him and he thinks for an instance, this sounds like a song the Retros would have played. And it all like ties it together. And Chuck and Jared see each other from a distance and kind of assess each other. And Chuck's is that this guy's a good drummer and great. And Jared's is like, this square.
This guy's an accountant. But
yeah.
I love that Jared's like, accountant looking guy. And then Chuck starts to move and he's like, oh, I know what beat to play to complement this guy's style, because he's got, we'll find out why, but he has sort of this like classic kind of way of moving. He's a great dancer.
Yeah. And that, yeah, he changes the tempo and
Chuck gets
Chuck,
into, he drops his briefcase.
yeah, which is even better because, again, the fact that Jared was like, this guy's going to walk past, not give me a second look. And now the fact that he started dancing is starting to draw the attention of people, and people in the crowd are shouting out like, yeah, go man, and throwing money into the magic hat.
And it gets even better when there's a girl dressed, as I said, cute AF, who comes walking up, and Chuck is something about her just, again, because he was thinking about the retros.
Thinking about Little Sister.
Reminds him of Little Sister. And he calls out to her with in the audiobook reading of this, captures the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Like, hey, come dance, Little Sister. And Jared's like, oh, she looks like she's probably too shy to do it. And then much to his surprise, she's like, why not? Because, she's feeling down. And
Yeah.
somebody asked her to dance and she's looking cute. She's going to show this outfit off.
Mm-hmm.
And so they start dancing. I couldn't help but think of 11/22/63.
Yes. Oh, hell yeah.
Sadie, Jake dancing with Sadie. It wasn't romantic like that, though. Although I like how Chuck, as he's dancing and having just like, he's like, best fucking day of my life right now. He thinks like, what would people think? Like, what if somebody's videoing this?
What
I
if
need
this
to tell my
goes
wife I danced with
viral?
another woman ASAP so she doesn't see it first.
That is very cute. I do like that a lot.
And makes sense that it might go viral because of the spontaneity.
It's a great dance.
People love
also
things like that. Yeah. Such a great dance that they make, like, was it $300 or
like
$400?
$400. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love Jared's like, this was as much you guys as it was me. I'm going to share this with you. And they're like, no. He's like, don't say no, because this was a magical moment, and so magical that, do you guys want to like start a thing together? We can take this on the road.
Let's busk our way across the country.
Yeah. And they're like, Chuck's like, I am a little too old for that. And I have a family.
I like that the adventure continues past this moment that they wrap up the drum session and they stick around and help him pack up. And then they all get in the van and go to the Boston Commons and sit together and hang out. So they make this trip of it, this lightning in a bottle group continues to hang out throughout the day, which again, obviously is something Chuck never could have imagined in his wildest dreams this would be happening to him. Yeah, they divide up that money, and Chuck is having a great time, but he's starting to get a headache, and he's been getting worse and worse headaches lately, and he knows this one's gonna be bad. So as they're sitting around and they've divvied up all this money and they're talking about what got them here, because he talks
They're like,
about
you're
Juilliard.
an accountant. How can you dance?
Yeah, and he's like, oh yeah, there was this thing called like twirlers and something. It's in my notes somewhere. There's this dance class that I had in high school that I really, really loved, and but I learned the cool stuff from my grandma.
Yeah.
And it's just this really cute moment. Again, you read this the first time through, and that line feels like, oh, this is just a cute way of like why he's such a good dancer. But knowing what you know about his grandma, it makes just the fact that he's still such a good dancer and thinks of her when he dances is so beautiful to think. And again, it's part of what makes this day so magic, is it draws on the happiest parts of his childhood also.
Which makes me feel like, and I don't think the story outright says this, but I feel like there must have been something in Jared's drumming that reminded him of the music that his grandma would listen to or the way she danced. Because later on at the school, which we're going to get to shortly, he's waiting for the song his grandma would dance to.
Right. It has to be the right song.
Yeah.
So they have this this group hug and go hands in, buskers forever. He walks her to her stop, and after they part ways, he walks past and he sees this place where they were performing this magic moment. And that's when the laters come. It says, later he will lose the ability to walk, let alone dance. Later he will not be able to eat. He'll have to be fed through tubes. Later he will not be able to feel anything but pain. But he will remember this moment sometimes.
Yeah, earlier I said this is like the best moment of his life. And I mean, it makes sense that he would this would be one of the memories he's able to hold on to.
Mhm. And again, it's on its face by itself is a magic day, but the way the how important dancing is to him, it turns out,
Yeah. It's to the
makes
story.
yeah,
Yeah.
it makes this second act feel so much more impactful the second time through.
Yes.
I felt like it was so much richer.
I want to put a pin in the way you phrased that the
Oh,
second time through,
okay.
which we'll kind of talk about at the end.
Perfect. Now we're going to go to Act 1. I contain multitudes. I thought I couldn't be more sad
Yeah.
based on the end of Act 2, and then I took a break. I was so
Oh.
sad about the end of Act 2 because it's such a bummer. I was like, I need a minute. And then like the next day I came back, and the very beginning of Act 1 is Chuck was looking forward to being a big brother. He was also looking forward to having parents. Too bad. Fucking
Yes. This
brutal
hurts so
opening.
much. Yeah. So we find out, we get Chuck's childhood basically. He was 7 years old when his parents died in a car accident. With them, his still in utero baby sister, whose name was going to be Alyssa. And I don't know why this just got me, but we learn that when his mom tells him what the baby's name is going to be, he says, "Sounds like rain."
And she
Cries.
cries and laughs.
And that comes, he references that "sounds like rain" later, and it's just like,
It also says he never forgot that.
yeah, yes, jeez. So he goes to live with his father's, or was his mother?
It's it's his father's.
Yeah, his father's grandparents who live just down the road.
Mhm.
And I'm so grateful that, like, it's hard at first to make that adjustment. Grandpa is a heavy drinker. That gets heavier for at
Mhm.
least the year following the accident. And grandma, it takes her like a year to start listening to music in the kitchen while she's cooking again and start dancing again. But it's not a bad life. Like, it seems like the transition to living with his grandparents and losing his family in that way, he had a good home to transition into.
Yeah.
Like, I was grateful that he had grandparents who could care for him.
It's basically described as a house grieving together. They did their best to exist and keep each other existing
Mhm.
until they could start to feel again.
And they're Jewish, right?
Mhm, yeah.
Because his names for them are not the
Zadie and Bubby.
Western grandma and grandpa. But although he stops calling them that because he gets made fun of at
Yeah.
school, so it's like, aw, dumb kids.
But the magical moment is at 10 years old, they took a trip to Disney. And that seemed to bring happiness back into the home. Grandpa stopped drinking
I've heard
so
that about that
much. And Grandma cooked more, was singing and
Mhm.
dancing in the kitchen, all this stuff. And he loved that she listened to rock and roll because she's too old to listen to rock and roll.
Are
That's
you
crazy.
surprised that that's the music she liked?
Yeah. And here we find out about the cupola. And did you also Google
Yes.
image
I was
what a
talking to
cupola
Devin
is?
about this. I was like, hey, what is a cupola? And he thought it was like kind of like an awning. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, at least you you knew it was something on a house, because I gave him no context. Yeah, so listeners, if you don't live in an area where that is common in the architecture of homes, which I guess must be kind of the case here. I was looking, we were driving around earlier. I was like, do I see any? It's like a very small, sort of like Four Seasons kind of space. It has a ceiling, it has a roof and four walls and windows, but it's just a small space on top of a house.
It's a modest turret.
Yeah. I don't know how else
Yeah.
Devin's like, oh, kind of like a phone booth. And I was like,
Yeah.
good enough.
It's so you can see if there's any invaders coming from either side. I'm pretty sure.
I was going to
90%.
ask, like, where are those on houses and like what do they do? Like, why do because some houses don't have basements
Mhm.
because they're too close to the floodplain. And
Sure.
we have basements because tornadoes.
Yeah.
Which we got caught in a couple weeks ago.
We sure did. But yeah, we find out that this space is locked.
It's off
padlocked.
limits. Yeah,
Yes.
it's Bluebeard's door.
But he's not as obsessed with it. It doesn't
No.
earworm the way Bluebeard's does. But he's told basically the floor's unsafe. That's why it's
Mhm.
completely blocked off. And it's not until just before Chuck's 11th birthday that Grandpa lets something slip.
He's
See him?
tying one on and he gets
Yeah.
a little loose at the mouth.
Yeah. What does he let slip?
He's telling him, hey, you got to stay away from the cupola because it's haunted. And explains that he saw the neighbor boy die several years before it actually happened.
One thing that I think is hilarious, because they are the Jewish grandparents and he has non-Jewish grandparents, that when Grandpa starts mentioning this, he mentions Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. And he's like, you know that one, right? But he says the Jeffries boy was only for a short time. Henry Peterson took 4 or 5 years. And gives no context to what he means. And then he says, the last
Very
time I went up
ominous.
there, I saw the bread in your bubby, basically. And like, thank God for Chuck's brain, Grandma came home just then.
Yes. You would stop if that's who you saw there, right?
Yeah. It's such a hard cliffhanger, because he also he knows he's not supposed to talk about it or ask about it. And now that Grandma's home, he's like, I've got a taste of something, but now I want to know more.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have to wait too long, because
What a sneaky way to find out, too.
his grandma makes some some cookies or whatever for a
Muffins,
neighbor. Yeah.
No, not for the neighbor. He calls a neighbor and asks, hey, my grandma made these, can I bring you some?
Mm-hmm.
He's like a nice Jewish boy, taking the old ladies in the neighborhood muffins. And he's
Yeah.
like, I felt kind of bad because she was a little bit overweight and I'm not bringing her something healthy necessarily, but I knew that she would know everything.
Yeah, I
and
know
if
she's
I
a
could get her to
gossip.
talk. And he has to kind of give her information in
Mhm.
return.
Yeah, the fact she's like a little upset that it's not juicy gossip.
Yeah, it's
that
not
he
juicy
shares.
at all.
And he very slyly is like, who is the Jeffries boy, by the way? Like, they just kind of mentioned him, and I don't know if do you know anything? And she does classic
I know
gossip
everything.
hound and says that the Jeffries boy was a little boy who was hit by a drunk driver when he chased a ball into the street.
Ugh.
Later, we also find out that Henry Peterson hanged himself, and that was a big thing around town. Chuck asks if he was embezzling, because the
I
murder
know, that's so
mysteries.
cute, yeah.
He's been reading Agatha Christie, and he's like, it's always embezzling.
Although because of Mr. Harrigan's phone, I couldn't help but think, and in the way they say it in the book, oh, it wasn't autoerotic asphyxiation?
No judgments.
Yeah, no. Let me be safe, though.
Yeah, exactly. Have a friend. Have a cuck chair.
That's why cuck chairs exist.
That's why we made them.
So we don't die. Cuck for life.
I understand what that tattoo you have means.
So cheap.
I know.
I regret
It only had to
laughing
cost like
so hard
$12.
at that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that cheap. So
Wow, we're okay.
children. We jump to the inspiration, I think, entering Chuck's mind. It's 6th grade, and his teacher is reading literature that's not catching the children's attention. But the phrase, I contain multitudes, really sticks with him. And after class, he goes to ask her about that.
I love the way this is described.
Yeah.
Because as soon as he's like, what does this mean? Her face lights up. And I get that, because every time a student asks me a question, I'm like,
Yeah.
you want to know more about this? You want to learn? Okay. Like, I'm so happy. And so she stops what she's doing and she like, what do you think it means?
And he pretty accurately shares that we are a collection of all the experiences we have. Those things live in our head, so they exist in there.
Ties so beautifully into what we were all discussing in the Everything's Eventual episode about how those things shape how we interpret and
Mhm.
experience the world. It shapes the choices we make,
Yeah.
which is why, like, human beings share like 99% of their DNA, but our experiences are the thing that kind of make us all seem so different from one another, even though we're so much the same.
When he grasps this concept, he does have this image of people dying and worlds going dark.
Hmm.
Great. Just love to hear that.
Do you think that if his mind, his imagination had conjured a different type of image that represents this, that would have been the end that Marty and Felicia saw? Because they see what he thought of.
That's true. We don't know how firmly, I guess, he held that belief, but I guess by the way it ends, it seems like that is something that stuck with him strongly
Hmm.
forever. We've had conversations about theory that an afterlife is what you want it
Yeah,
to be,
yeah,
what you have devoted your brain to it being,
yeah.
essentially. And yeah, I think this is along that same vein. Had he imagined his existence ending, the fact that he imagined it once
Hmm.
meant it was in his head forever, essentially, right?
Yeah,
Contains every idea you've ever thought of.
yeah.
Horror fans.
Oh, no.
All of those
Ah,
things we've
shit.
saw
Oh, the
and
multitudes inside
read.
me are having a bad time.
It's scary in here. That's the last day of school, basically, that this conversation happens, and she's like, "Have a great summer." And in classic this story, Chuck goes, "I did until August when Grandma died."
Jeez, man.
Grandma had a stroke in the grocery store aisle, and one of the most alarming things, not even alarming, is after she passed this.
Casually upsetting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If it's what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The relief he saw on his grandpa's face after the whole ordeal. Like, there was all of the
Mhm.
natural things, but this sense of relief was something he really dialed into.
Probably very unexpected because he couldn't grasp, I'm sure, the what his grandpa was dealing with, being the adult, having to deal with a lot more surrounding her death than
Mhm.
just losing her. I was struck by Chuck going to the store and asking the clerk which aisle it was that the woman had died. And the clerk was like, "Kid, that's fucked up." And he's like, "She was my grandma." And
Yeah.
and then
Oh.
and then the clerk's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. It was here and I saw it. This is exactly how it happened. I'm sorry if that's too much." And Chuck's like, "No, he needed to understand her last moments."
Mhm. And when he finds out that she pulled down pretty much the whole shelf in the bread aisle with her, he wasn't surprised. He just it it's there was something of a piece of him that
Something,
knew
yeah,
already.
yeah.
So the next year at school, he signs up for twirlers and spinners, thinking of his bubby, which
Yeah.
also just adds a layer to when he's gives his dancing credit to, "Oh, I just joined this club." And you find it's because he
It's
missed his
so
grandma.
important,
Yeah.
yeah.
What did you think of the dance class?
I love this because I thought he was in high school in the dance class.
He's
Or is the high school
seventh
in the
grade, so he's
dance?
junior high.
Oh, okay. So
Because he goes
he's
to a high school dance as a.
Oh, that's why. Okay, because I was remembering like he's small for his age.
Yes.
He's a good dancer, and so his teacher keeps pairing him with all the girls who can't dance,
Yeah.
which spoke to my heart. Like I needed a Chuck. I can't dance at all. And so that he's like, I get it, but kind of sucks because it's, not as fun. It's not a challenge
Mhm.
for him. But finally, eventually, he does get paired with somebody who can dance. Also happens to be one of the really popular girls.
Yeah. Kat McCoy.
I love their relationship.
It's so freaking cute.
It is.
Because there is a fall fling that is coming up, and again, he is substantially shorter than she is.
Mhm.
And he mentions, like, when we dance, there's not like a romantic
Yeah, it's
thing here.
platonic.
Yeah.
They just have good dance chemistry.
Right. And
And she's like wowed by him. She's like,
yeah.
"You're great."
She wants to dance with him.
Everybody who sees Chuck dance is like, "Hey, you want to take this show on the road?"
Right? She gives him a gift that will help his confidence in dancing because
Mm-hmm.
he's so much shorter. A pair of Cuban heels that her brother had that are a little big for him, but he just stuffs toilet paper in there and they fit just fine. And they give him the boost to where they're almost eye to eye
Yeah.
when they dance.
Oh yeah, my
Oh,
note here was they do a 11/22/63 without the romance.
yeah. The what did you think of the actual scene at the fall fling?
I liked it because it's, he wasn't even going to go to the dance.
Right.
She's like, we should do this together at the dance, but not as boyfriend and girlfriend because
Right.
I'm seeing so and
My
so.
boyfriend is
Yeah,
taking me to the dance.
and also, gives his head a little rub and he's like, "You're a really good dancer for someone who's so tiny and has small feet." She doesn't say it that meanly, but to a
Jesus.
but to a boy that age, that's kind of how I was like, "Ugh, it's okay,
You'd be
Chuck."
really good at breaking up. You should give it a try sometime.
I know, right? I'm smooth. And so he doesn't go there with her, but she's bugging him the whole time. Like, hey, when are we going to do this dance? We're going to this place is going to explode. People are going to lose their minds. Let's do it. And he's like, no, not yet. And she's like itching to dance because her boyfriend, who's taller than Chuck and probably has bigger feet, can't dance at all. And it's just like in the corner with his friends.
I mean, he could dance. We don't know. He just is doing the classic teenage boy thing and staying as far away from the dance floor as possible.
And you know what? Good for him. I've seen a lot of men dance that, and again, I can't dance, so.
Well, they like you said, the 11/22/63 style. When they do get out there, the crowd goes insane. Everybody wants him to keep dancing, and Chuck is like, "No, I need some air," and excuses himself to go outside.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm sorry, I skipped over the song that he knows is the right song is the one that reminds him of his puppy.
Yes, yeah,
He doesn't tell her that's what he's waiting for, but and it's almost the end of the night.
yeah. And he goes out because he's on cloud 9, and we get a brief aside here to find out that Chuck one time told the story about the scar on the back of his hand to his wife and lied about it. And it's while he has been in the hospital when they got the diagnosis that he'd be dead before Christmas that he decided to tell her, and she told him to be like, yeah, tell me, because it seemed important to him. And the story he had made up was just that he got it from Doug Wentworth, who was mad at him for dancing with his girlfriend and pushed him into a fence, and his hand cut the chain link fence. And it was a weird lie because it didn't go into like you fought the guy off.
Yeah,
and
he wasn't the hero of that story. It was kind of a nothing story.
It was innocuous, and like, why would you lie about something like that? And the reason being is that it's important, but he can't tell the story about why it is important, so he had to make it matter more somehow.
It was
It's
ineffable.
crazy, yeah.
So how do you make sense?
Yeah, I need this to matter, but I can't tell you how it matters.
Because how he actually got it was when he went out into the parking lot for air, he was spinning in circles just with his arms out. Just reveling in the moment, and he hit his hand against the chain link fence. And that's that scar that Marty saw that he's like, why didn't they just airbrush that out?
So 4 years later, after this fall fling, Grandpa dies. Chuck is 17, and at the time playing in the retros. In this perfect day we get in the middle of his life, we get the dancing from his grandma, and the retros probably brings back a lot with his grandpa.
Yeah.
And we find out that Grandpa left him everything, which is how he was able to pay for college. He was able to sell the house to buy a house.
It wasn't a
for him
ton,
and
but
his
it was
wife.
a nice start to his adult life.
It wasn't a Mr. Harrigan.
No, yeah,
by
because
any means.
his grandpa,
He had a shoe business.
he spent a lot of money on alcohol, and he was never. There were no stories of him being like a raging alcoholic or a mean drunk or anything. He just drank a lot.
Yeah. When he gets settled in the house, it's a few days before his other grandparents come to live with him.
This was kind of nice. He's not really close to them, and he didn't want to finish out like his last 3 months, I think, of school to go live with them because they live out of state, and they agreed like, all right, we'll just come hole up with you until you're done, and then we'll go back. And I was like, how nice that they could do that and that they were willing to.
For all of the sadness in Chuck's
I was
life,
gonna
I'm glad
say,
that
yeah,
his
everyone in
family.
his life has died. Just go live with him for 3 months
Oh God,
and try not to die.
sinister. When he is going through the mail, he sees that there's an envelope from the funeral home that has his grandpa's belongings. And Chuck takes the keys and heads to the cupola. And when he opens it up, he sees that the floor is perfectly fine. It's not a hazard like he was always told. And doesn't see anything of interest.
Nope, not at all. That is not a ghost cupola. Because he's afraid that he's going to walk in there and he's going to see a ghost. I don't know. Just the story, I kept trying to catch up to it,
Yeah.
that I was still surprised by what he actually sees.
Mhm. On his way out, he sees a man in a hospital bed. He hears the beeps of the machine. He sees the glasses on the nightstand, and he sees a small crescent-shaped scar on the man's hand. He has no concept of how old the man is because he's sick in a hospital bed,
Mhm.
and Chuck is 17, and
Yeah.
anybody older than him
Is
is 50
ancient.
to 80.
Yeah. I get it. That's how I used to
And
feel.
and it's a small moment, but the fact that it says that the vision is all at once gone, it doesn't fade like in ghost stories. It's as
Mhm.
though it was never there at all. It's
Mhm.
so sudden. And Chuck realizes that he has to live his life to the fullest. He's going to live his life till his life
Yeah,
runs
he's
out.
gonna nope that image.
Mhm.
And why not? Because what can he, I mean, what do you do about it?
Yeah.
It makes that scar and the story around it make more sense because it means so much more than, oh, I had this great night and I did this and I accidentally, whatever.
Mhm.
So if you can't tell that, how do you give it meaning?
Right. How do you acknowledge that every time you look at that scar you probably think about
Your death.
your death? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the story. You want to get into some ratings?
Yeah, so I would like to share some ratings from, I pulled these from Goodreads because I
Mhm.
wanted to know what other people thought about this because I had to read this or listen to it several times. Once I realized what was going on,
Mhm.
I knew like, okay, there has to be so much that I missed. And so the first I want to point out, like you said at the start, we have 3 acts. They're told in reverse. Act 3, this is an end of the world story. And we think that we're going to follow Marty and Felicia. And then we realize that they are living in a dying man's head. And Act 2 is that ordinary life story about just enjoy life every day. And it's okay if that is what your life is. An interesting and a nice message. Act 1 gives it that ghost story vibe, but not even a scary one. This is such a different seasons
Yeah. Yes.
style book. I took to the internet because I had to work at this story.
Mhm.
And not even in a bad way. That's not a complaint. But a lot of the reviews I was seeing were like, this isn't horror. This is boring.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, I wonder if they would have had that same impression if they had spent more time thinking about it because it's something that is very ordinary, but the way it's told is subtly, kind of fantastic and has all these elements woven into it.
Mhm.
So you miss that. If you either can't connect to it because of your own experiences or you don't search for that deeper meaning.
Yeah.
So this is from CJ. This is a deeply endearing meditation on life itself, told in reverse. It unravels the story of a man who dies too young. It's obscure, moving, and unlike anything you might expect from Stephen King, quite profound rather than horrifying. This is a story that reminds us we are way more than our routines, that even on an ordinary day with the smallest shift, maybe just a turn of the hip, we're capable of something remarkable, that we can build something meaningful, something just for us because we are multitudes. Another, and it is, the average rating was like 4.3 stars. This was another high rating. It's beautiful, unexpected kind of story. And the upcoming film adaptation captures the beauty in stunning light.
Thank
which
God.
we will get to when we can. Spencer said, as someone currently suffering from a brain tumor and brain cancer, this story made me ugly sob. It is beautiful. Spence, we wish you well.
Boy, howdy.
The people who were disappointed in it overall were the ones who were like, not a horror story, which honestly, like, I get that sentiment because I love horror stories. So it kind of speaks to my heart. But I don't find fault in a Stephen King story that isn't a horror story because he doesn't only write horror. When I'm realizing, oh, this isn't going horror, it isn't going like super supernatural, I realize, okay, I probably need to sit with this one more and think more deeply on it. So Daniel Volpe said, far from horror, but a decent and odd story. This story is told in 3 parts, and each part details a portion of the life of Chuck. The first was the strongest and closest to horror. The other 2 were just blah, more of a little slice of a person's life. Which, yes, I mean,
Yeah.
that's exactly the point. Like the first in the If It Bleeds novels, Mr. Harrigan's Phone, this was enjoyable to read, but never really went anywhere. I feel like Mr. King could have done more in these 80 or so pages, but he wasted a lot of time and it just kind of stalled. Just someone completely missing all of this rich, like
Yeah.
deep meaning, which I don't mean to criticize them for that.
Mm.
I just feel bad. Like, go back and explore it.
I want to see the movie so bad, and the movie has pretty mixed ratings. And when I didn't want to read any of the good ones because they would have content I cared about, but I looked at the bad ones to see like, all right, these are going to be dumb probably, and so many of them were. I was confused.
Oh,
Like
okay.
there were so many reviews that were the beginning was weird and I left.
I feel so bad because like I was also confused just with this listening to the story, but
Mhm.
you know, I got to re-listen and go back and help clear that up for myself.
I think I'm glad after the experience that you had, I'm glad I read it the first time before. I liked the audiobook performance,
Mhm.
but I think reading it and coming to that realization definitely hit me really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, I'd have to say I wouldn't recommend listening to this until you've read it.
Yeah.
Like do both because the audiobook reading, except some characters he does, I'm like, this is so grating. But he does do a really good job overall.
Thank you for reading those reviews. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm a basic bitch sometimes. And I'm just like, oh, where's my horror? I don't like this. This is just about real stuff. Dull. So I get that. But honestly, sometimes it's okay to step away from horror and just like really make our brains stretch.
I think given enough time and exposure, and this story will get a lot of exposure thanks to the Holly connection with If It
Hmm.
Bleeds being in this book, thankfully. But I truly believe this story is going to be something we later speak in the same breath as Shawshank.
Yes, I have to admit though, in part, it was a little hard for me to get into the story because this book so far, and we've only covered 2 stories, has made me feel, maybe I should save this for the final review, but feel like I am beginning to read the phase of King where King is speaking to experiences that I can't relate to because they're experiences of someone, and I think I kind of mentioned this in another episode, but of someone at a point in their life further along than mine.
Mm.
And so the things that he's drawing on and thinking of, I just can't quite like don't have that like instant connection and meaning for me. So I have to work a little bit harder with some of these newer stories because they're a man, you know, much older now drawing on those experiences. And so I kind of want to just like recommend to people too, that's okay.
Yeah.
And like I am excited to read this book in particular again in 10 years. You know,
Reread.
when I'm in my 50s
why
and
we
maybe it'll
reread.
hit me different. Yeah.
Yeah. That's that's fantastic.
I guess can I just do my
Yeah,
rating off
go.
of that?
Yeah.
4 out of 5 blue chambray shirts.
So I'm gonna go really personal for this because I talked about it a little at the top, and CM, you actually mentioned something. You actually mentioned something a moment ago about the tornado.
Yes.
So as I mentioned earlier, being 39 and something going after my brain is like my greatest fear. Ending my life, not me, is a real horror
Yeah.
move for me. So I was already in kind of an empathetic space in comparing my life to Chuck's. And we had a tornado hit our area, and luckily my family were all home, but because of the headspace I was in reading this book, feeling like midlife crisisy about my own potential imminent death.
Mm-hmm.
During this tornado, a tree snapped off, came down and crashed onto my house, smashed the front porch, broke and flew into my neighbor's house also.
Jeez.
The impact shook the whole house. We'd like just gotten down into the basement, and for a chunk of time we were safe, if not panicked. Then the water started coming into the basement because the tree took down all my gutters, and so water poured into my basement, so we were no longer safe in our basement. So we had
Your home was invaded.
we had to scoop up, and we like my bedroom is like mostly interior. We just held up in there, and I am not exaggerating when I say that for approximately an hour and a half, I was positive I was going to die. I was 1,000% sure this was it. What broke me out of it, finally things settle. I realized that I'm Josh Kahn. I don't die in a mass casualty. That's insane. That's
right, there we go.
batshit. That's absolutely crazy. And that snapped me out of it, and I was great the rest of the storm. We wrote it out, and everything's fine now. The tree's off my house. It's great. Thank you to all the listeners on the Discord who were checking in on us, and on Instagram who posted. We're all safe now. But yeah, for 90 straight minutes, I was certain of my death. And it was the most horrified I've ever been. Thank you to this book for putting me in a midlife crisis. 5 out of 5 blue chambray shirts.
I'm so sorry. Before we close, okay, this isn't nearly as interesting as yours, but while you were in your basement thinking you're going to die, I had checked a weather app I will never use again. Didn't know that it just said flood warning.
No.
I didn't know when rain was coming. I
What?
didn't know there was a tornado watch. I didn't get any notification. Devin is inside the grocery store. I am in the parking lot in the car waiting for him to come out because I'm wearing my slippers and no bra. It is pajama time in the car. I'm not going in. When the world goes dark, and I'm also reading this book.
Oh my God.
The store loses all power. Everything in the parking lot goes out, and the wind starts shaking the car. Devin's calling me. His parents are calling me, and I'm like, oh, just like I kept going, oh, every time the car rocked, or like a leafy branch that flew off a tree would fly by. I was like, this isn't the space I'm supposed to be in right now. The reason they were calling is because a little under a mile away from where you are and where I was at the time, there was a tornado that touched down.
Yes.
So then I drove us home. I pulled up to the grocery store doors and I'm like, get in. I can't sit in this parking lot
Holy
because
shit.
something is going to fall on the car. Like, we just got to go.
That's wild.
And the drive home was nuts.
I bet.
Yeah.
It was absolutely batshit. If it weren't for the fact that I get off work early on Fridays, I would have been on 74
no,
Bridge.
I'm so glad you were
Yeah.
home.
Fucking me too.
So yeah, this book will fuck you up.
Yeah, pro tip, don't read this book during a natural disaster.
Yeah, come on, Josh. That's on you.
That's on me.
And that is it for this episode of Derry Public Radio. As always, thank you for listening. Join us for our next episode where we will be continuing our coverage of If It Bleeds with If It Bleeds.
It's the confidence I appreciate the most.
For Joshua Kahn, I'm CM Alexander, reminding you, it's the waiting, Chucky. That's the hard part. I said that ominously. Did I say that ominously?
You need to say it more ominously.
It's the waiting, Chucky. That's the hard part. That's how this book makes us feel.
Nailed it. Perfect.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening to The Life of Chuck. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, let us know your thoughts. You can find us on social media by searching Derry Public Radio on your preferred platform. You can also send us an email at derrypublicradio@gmail.com. And you can chat with us in our Discord. The link for that is in the show notes. Don't forget to follow us on Patreon so you can keep up to date with our bonus content and our live streams. You can also get Derry Public Radio merchandise on our Etsy store, etsy.com/Derry Public Radio. If you enjoyed this episode, please spread the word any way that you can. It really does help us out a lot, and we appreciate it so much. That's all for now, listeners. Goodbye.